Hi, I'm Lisa Eddy, your host of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast. I'm so glad that you've made your way here and that I'm now sharing these podcasts here on YouTube. In my 25 years in the beauty industry, I have worked with thousands of women. I have witnessed so many beautiful, powerful, smart, and kind women who are hiding instead of shining. My mission is to empower you to own your true power and beauty inside and out, to be truly confident and shine through your skin. Lord knows the world needs your light. I'm committed to helping you understand the choices that you are making that are working for or against you. I'll also be sharing beauty tips and tools your mother never taught you, and together we will bust urban beauty myths. Make sure to subscribe today to receive episodes right when they are released. For those who prefer listening to the audio podcast, head over to sacredbeautylifestyle.com. That's sacredbeautylifestyle.com, and you can find the platform of your choice. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast. Speaking of beauty, I have the beautiful Stacey Cooper here with us today. Stacey is a breathwork facilitator, a Reiki master, a quantum energy healer, meditation teacher, shamanic ceremony facilitator, and intuitive who specializes in the area of trauma and somatic awareness. Stacey has also studied and been mentored in Earth Priestess arts, relational polarity with some of the best teachers in the space. Stacey has a diverse background in health and wellness, as she previously owned two wildly successful and internationally recognized fitness and nutrition businesses before she went on her deep spiritual journey to face unresolved trauma. Stacey's goal is to share her medicine, wisdom, and knowledge of the mind, the body, and its internal systems, and bridge the gap between the physical and the energetic realms, creating life-changing freedom for the soul. Welcome, sister. Happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Yes, welcome to. You're a very good fit for the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a moment to share with our guests. We met at a local, beautiful business here in the incredible Fairfax, California, Northern California, I should say, which, is a magical place that has healers and crystals and resources for those on their journey and really committed to honing and owning their light and power and beauty and working with the divine. So instantly when we met, it was like, hi, this is very much in alignment. Exactly.
I know you.
So exactly. We've met before. So thank you for agreeing to be here and share some of your wisdom and medicine. You are a plethora of wisdom and have quite a diverse background, as mentioned. It seems like you're like the Jane of all trades. So for our listeners, I would love if you would share a little bit about your story and maybe where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably start back when I started my fitness and nutrition businesses. So that was when I was about 26, 27 years old. And they kind of took off, and I was very lucky, very blessed. It kind of spanned 3 cities. And this was in Santa Barbara, and started getting some international attention. They were even looking at us to film reality shows, and it was all like, from the outside looking in, it would have seemed like I had the best life. I mean, I had so much fun serving women, and I just had such a blast. We had a great community. But I was a workaholic. I was working from like 4 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, hustler as just running your own business. Didn't have much help until the last few years. And then I crashed. Basically, a day came where I almost couldn't get out of bed. Like, my body aches, pains. I was constantly getting injuries. My body was trying to tell me something was wrong. And then I started having what's called dissociative seizures. And they were from a repressed sexual assault that I hadn't faced from when I was 26. So I basically walked away from my business. People kind of are still shocked about it, because I kind of just like left. Like I kind of slowly, I planned my nervous breakdown. I kind of very slowly moved to LA, kind of like I tried to titrate it, but I knew for a long time that I was leaving. And because I had to face this, I couldn't hold space for, all these women in this journey. And plus like doing a reality show, I was like, if they're going to come into my life, they're going to find out all this stuff that I'm hiding this stuff. Right. And, I'm big on authenticity. And so I was like, I've got to fix this. So I went home to LA, and that's when I started the journey more into yoga, meditation, became kind of like a neuroscience geek to try to figure out what was going on in the body. Did all sorts of different kinds of therapy, EMDR, all these things. But what I found is that everybody was kind of in their separate house. I was having physical, symptoms. I was having clearly emotional and mental stuff. But like, you can't just go to therapy. You can't just go to the physical therapist. You can't just go to the meditation teacher. And I was getting really frustrated with, you paying the thousands of dollars to try to put together your team. And what I really did was kind of try to heal myself and that relationship concerning the seizures. And I really just became self-taught at a lot of this stuff. When I go into things, I go big. So of course I became a teacher. I went and did yoga therapy for 2 years at LMU and all these things. And then that's what led me into kind of doing more of the healing work and the trauma coaching. Did a 6-month trauma certification and all those things because, like most of us, we try to turn our pain into the medicine. It's like, okay, how is this here to serve? That was my biggest thing. How do I help others? And that led to becoming more of a coach and a breathwork instructor and a healer. And then finally getting booked to speak and kind of talk about this. I was volunteering for a lot of nonprofits and speaking, but now I was getting asked to speak. Okay, how did you heal this relationship with the body? And also I was asked to talk a lot about masculine dynamics because I was controversial a bit for forgiving my rapist. So there was a lot that kind of came out there, and that's kind of led me to where I'm at now. And I really specialize in helping people that have trauma stuck in the body. Like it's there. The stories, the patterns, the experiences are kind of trapped trying to get their way out. That's kind of the type of client that I work with, and breath work is just amazing for that.
I love everything you're sharing. And yes, breath work is absolutely incredible for that. And I want to backtrack a tad because, first of all, what a good businesswoman. I planned my mental health breakdown. I totally get that.
I was good. I've got these 2 events I can't back out of. Okay, that means May. May I can break down. And I mean, it's funny because I talk about it now. Because now I share online. For a long time, I didn't tell anybody why I left Santa Barbara. And then I started, how kind of the momentum started going from my story was I started sharing little pieces on Facebook. And then I would get hundreds of women writing me because this was before MeToo. So no one was talking about this stuff yet. And then it would flood in, oh, this is why you left. And people are sharing their stories. And it was just, it became part of my heart to kind of really help women that has been keeping this in. Because I found with most of the speaking engagements, it's 70% of women. It's not 1 in 3. It's 70% of the room would always raise their hands if they'd ever been assaulted. So, yep.
Thank you for saying that. I tell people that. I tell men who are unfamiliar with this that most women I know have a rape story. And I love that you were that you were conscious enough, or that you were brought into a way that you were facing what your body was sharing with you, because our body does speak to us.
It does.
And it is our job to decode it, right? And it can be a little bit confusing.
Yeah, what is the body trying to tell us? And that's the biggest thing is we're going so fast, we're doing that we don't stop to listen to what the body is actually telling us. What is the anxiety? What is the depression? What is the injury? We have to actually listen to the energetics of it as well. What's going on there.
And I too am a breathwork facilitator and a Reiki master. So I love that you're doing these healing modalities. And the breathwork is such an avenue in to not only tapping into your own infinite wisdom and getting messages, also into connecting mind, body, and spirit.
Right. Because it bypasses the subconscious mind. They can go in there and clients will go, wow, I'm remembering this thing from when I was 7, and they don't even know it just comes in, and then they can complete it and actually heal and have quite a cathartic moment in just one session, where it's like, how is it that easy? Because we've stayed looping in our conscious mind, and it's like the breath goes in there and finds the little nooks and crannies of where we're still holding it, and it gives the client sovereignty, because it's like, you're doing the work. I'm here just holding the space. I'm the guide. You are healing yourself. The body is a miracle. You are doing this.
That is absolutely, I believe, the job of a really great facilitator, coach, mentor, healer, whatever terms are used, is to be able to bring a big, clean, I've seen a lot of unclean spaces, be able to hold a big, clean energy, sacred space for you to heal.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing
Thanks.
that.
Yeah, no, my most fun is when I've started doing more larger groups now. And I used to do groups in fitness, so it's interesting. I'm like, now I'm doing larger groups in breathwork, and it's just, I love it. It's my home, because I know I can hold a lot, you know? And so when people start having these really amazing experiences, it's so fulfilling. So it's really amazing.
Isn't it cool how our life unfolds and we're like collecting data? I always say that I'm walking through life collecting data and light. So we're collecting data and tools, and then how you're able to bring, oh, I already know how to work with groups.
Yeah. And just even when I have clients too, like, I never thought the fitness and nutrition stuff, I thought, okay, that was past life, right? You know, but now I can go, I still know the body and the fascial system so well that I'm like, oh, I can actually, from the physical component, actually see where it's stuck. And, you know, and it's like, oh, okay, that still serves me here. You know, it's like, it is. We're just kind of learning and more tools in the toolkit, so that we're just a really great holistic approach for a client, you know?
I love that. And there's something really powerful that I do not want to bypass. You shared that you had been sexually assaulted and that it was controversial. You were pre MeToo. So, bravo for
Yeah.
being the bold, courageous voice that we need people to be to help others heal and to be like, it's okay to talk about these things. And that you were able to come from such a loving place, because I believe that forgiveness is the way through. That you were able to come to a point where you were forgiving your abuser, and that you now teach this. Can you speak to this? This
Yeah.
is what you and I were talking about when we had a moment where I was like, oh my God, this work you're doing,
Yeah.
Stacey, this needs to be broadcast from mountaintops.
Yeah. So I think, to be clear, it's always like, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and you have to definitely, you know, feel safe relationships first. And for me, safe relationships were definitely just with women when I started going on this journey and all of that. But then when I knew I was ready and I started volunteering for some nonprofits, you get a really in-depth training, and you start to speak, you know, to survivors and things like that. I started to get more confident. And what I was noticing is that we're kind of stuck in a bubble of, it's being put on the women still to heal so much in just that feminine community. And where are we getting anywhere with that? Well, yes, we're helping each other heal, and we absolutely need that. But the bigger picture is, if you were assaulted by a man, because all genders, you know, can assault, but it's in my situation, I had to rewire my relationship to the masculine. And particularly because I was, to this day, I still don't know if two men assaulted me. One handed me the drink, and I do have flashes of the other one. So I'm very, very wealthy, very well to do. We're kind of, had connections all through the court system. So my rape was very much the epitome of rape culture, the epitome of why we don't press charges. Like, I'm going to get eaten alive, they're going to get off. And this cycle that just happens. And I started to think about just rape culture in general. And what got me there to the forgiveness was kind of like, well, I don't know. Did that guy know what was in the drink? Maybe the other guy didn't know. Maybe he felt pressured by his friends. Is it his father or his uncle that taught him this about women? Is it society? Is it porn? There's so many things that teach men this is what you do. So it's like, okay, women can heal in our circles and in our council. We are powerful. We will heal ourselves. We are badasses. But the bigger picture is the boys. They're growing up a very certain way based upon a lot of their external experiences and family systems. So if we don't start working with our boys and our men, how are we going to get there? And, the most powerful feedback I've gotten, when I started speaking more about this is from men. They've come up to me and say, thank you. Thank you for just not hating us. Thank you. Like, you're giving me ideas of, now I need to talk to my boys. I always worry about raising my daughters. Now you're making me think about how I raise a good man. Like, we need more for our boys and our men to kind of tackle that, and then for us to all come together. That's what you and I had talked about previously before, is like, we can't do all the work over here. We need to talk to our boys and men. There's so much. I mean, if we think about it, they don't have initiation rites anymore. They don't have ways to channel their rage. There used to be a lot of countries have movement practices. They have the haka, they have these warrior dances, they have way to move that out. In our Western culture, what happens to their rage? It goes internal or external. And if that deep internal stays long enough, it blows. And rape is about power and control. So if they have deep-seated, issues with the feminine, it can come out in a very awful way, right? And so we need help for them to channel this power that is coming through them.
It really is important. And particularly in this country, like you were saying, because we've gotten away from some of the indigenous ways that we channeled rage and released, and the community, like the sense of coming together and healing in community. And we're coming back to this. And a couple of things I said, especially in America, because in other countries, men are allowed to be a little bit softer too than we teach our boys to be here. And I think the film, The Masks We Wear by Jennifer Siebel Newson, really helps with that, explaining the way that we teach our men in America, and then the stats of how that ends up leading to assault and rape. And our men really need support, and to know that, we are all masculine and feminine. We all hold this balance within, and that, even the terms they use, like, don't be a pussy, with like coaches would say, or like, man up, and this stuff. And it's like, well, first of all, can we just talk about the fact that pussies are strong? Like, it should almost be like, don't be a scrotum, if we're going to say anything.
Love that. Love it. Yeah.
Just saying. But what a terrible lesson for these men to learn at our boys to learn as they're training to become men. And so we do have to retrain.
Something that came off the top of my head was that we need more male leaders for sure. And I know men's groups are popping up, but I almost think that sometimes by the time we get them in 30s, 40s, there's so much deprogramming to do. It's like, my whole thing is we need more stuff for our boys. So when they're starting to really find their own identity, when they start to have that relationship with women, and it's like, we can even take this to even with, you see the school shooters. So often there is a manifesto or an issue in there where they've talked about being bullied, or they've talked about being rejected from the feminine. Like, the rage aspect, it can come out in so many different ways. And if we start younger, like the preteen even, if we want to start there, then I think then we'll have a lot less of the men that are blocked, right? Like how you said that, feel like they can't show their emotions. They don't understand feminine side versus masculine side. Like, to start some of these teachings from the beginning so that there are ways for them to channel themselves and their emotions,
100%. And you also did bring something up that is really important that I also want to touch on, which is the porn industry. It's very normalized today, and with the internet and all this free porn around. And I didn't even read the details of this today, but Billie Eilish was speaking on this on social, and I love that. Like, she was angry that porn has become so popular. Like, she said something about that this morning, and I was like, yes, queen. And I have an interesting thought even on, and a controversial thought, because a lot of women are used to this, but I have some ideas about Brazilian bikini wax. Now, I am an esthetician, so my background in beauty, I did wax and train people how to wax for years. However, I'm I'm not a fan of removing all of the hair on the bikini area. And part of my mindset with that is that then we have this idea that men think that this is what women look
Yeah.
like. That's what children look
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And then how do we differentiate pictures online between a child and a woman?
Great point. Yeah. Yeah.
If they look the
Yeah.
same? So yeah, but I've had a lot of feedback on my stance on that. But I think that that kind of came from the porn industry too, I
No, I
think,
support you in
where
that.
it's
I remember
gotten.
having that awareness a few years ago, and thinking like, I remember when I was
Mhm.
doing that, I was doing that for the partner. I wasn't doing it because I wanted it. For just my personal experience. Some women love that, right? But so often we do these things for our partner that we, maybe didn't want to do ourselves. And so I think the more we come into our womanhood, I could say most of the community I'm around started to really kind of put that to the wayside and kind of go, I want more of a natural look and those types of things. But yes, I think it's problematic for that very reason because we have such a huge human trafficking and child, porn industry that is just tragic. I think, again, they start so young. I think the average is like 11 and 12 that they're starting now being introduced to porn. And so if you can imagine, they're learning their own bodies, depending on what they're looking at a lot of aggression. They're looking at, there's always a lot of force and aggression. And this is the part of the forgiveness. Forgive them for what they not know, like these boys, and maybe shown from their dads. So if this 12-year-old boy, and this is where I deeply went into the forgiveness, is again, this group of boys, maybe they've been friends for a while. I got them in their 20s, but like maybe they've been friends for a while and they grew up this way and their parents are this way. This is what you do. Women are just kind of commodities and objects. So when we start to understand that this is a generation by generation by generational issue that has to be tackled in a lot of different ways, and Lord, $1 billion porn industry, we've got a ways to go. But if there's a few of us that I think need to start talking about it and make it less taboo and kind of, form alliances and go, okay, what are some things we can do here, for our boys? Because we take a lot of good care of our girls. I know that from like in the school system and seeing that we have a lot of support for girls. We need a bit more for our boys, for sure.
We need a lot more support for our, now I'm singing boys to men, for our boys to men, like from, all the way through. Women have much more opportunities to come together in groups and, have healing and
Yeah, we're
support
more
from not
social
only
beings.
just from
It's easy for us
girlfriends.
to do that. Yeah. They're not built that way.
And what's interesting? I know you said they're not built that way. And I do believe there are some innate masculine and feminine traits. Uh, though I also think that men and women aren't actually that different.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Like, I think that they're trained away from that piece. Like, that is a little bit of
right.
teaching too, that they're not supposed to be vulnerable.
Well, the
Yeah.
studies show you get the men together through physicality. So it's not that what I meant by they're not built that way, they're not built to come sit in a circle and talk about their feelings. Women are built that way. But how you get the men is through physicality.
Okay.
Start them with sports, start them with something, a physical release. Then you can sit them down and maybe open up and start, getting into some other things. But that's how, whether we want to work with boys or men here, usually it's getting physical with their body, which is why you find all these very primal, in almost every culture across the world, you find a warrior dance that men do, and they do initiation rites, and it's because, and that also leads them to revering women and children. That's also built in there to the initiation rites. It's kind of, that's built in when they're growing up. This is the reverence. This is, they give life, and this is, and we don't have that here, and so I'm all for bringing it back. I'm not keep screaming it from the rooftops that we need that back. Yeah.
Yeah, when you said we don't have that here, I'm like, but I think you're bringing it back,
I want
right?
to. I
Like,
would love, if
you're
there's
working on
any
that piece for us.
people that
Thanks.
watch, or, I would love any people, I'm all about creating, I'm a disruptor. I like to create new stuff. So it's like, I would be honored. That's the thing. I've been working a lot with women, and I find I have a lot to give in the area with men. So that's just been kind of coming through for me, is like, okay, what does that look like? So I'm ready for it.
And I think they're ready for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's just the thing is that because I know a few women leaders who are their roles are pivoting that have been working with women and now they're called to work with the divine masculine because like we were saying we need our men to be holding it down in a sacred way or the divine masculine to be that the masculine grounds the
Yeah,
masculine helps to hold
we
right?
need them.
And so we need that in order for the divine feminine to help us
Oh,
rise.
absolutely. Their container, their strength and structure and wisdom, and we need them absolutely for us to be in our fullest expression. And then again, how you mentioned how those energies work within us too. This is an energy that works within everybody. But like it's that it's that containment that literally makes you feel like, oh, okay, all right, I can bloom. I can bloom here. And I think even for what we're talking about, when you're teaching boys, I think you would need multiple genders there, that they can identify with and learn from a woman and learn from a man and learn from, maybe someone who's non-binary if that's where they are. Like learn from, you know, have a panel of people that they're learning from so that they can start to identify themselves within that and go, oh, okay, that person gets me. They see me. All right, yeah, I have felt pressured by my guy friends to do this and this, like, and hearing from a woman too, like, it's, I don't know. I've got a lot of ideas about it that swirl. Maybe we'll have to talk more about it.
I was just thinking the same thing when you said that. If you saw me like dancing with enthusiasm when you shared that statement. And for those of you who are not familiar, we also have the podcast now available on the YouTube channel, which is here in the show notes, which is why I said, we're on video. Well, you could see it on video too if you prefer. I just wanted to touch base on that and then comment on what you were saying, Stacey, is that I believe that is the way through is to have this co-ed,
Yeah.
these co-ed sacred spaces. And, I really think movement, moving together, dance.
Yep.
I'd love to see more
Yep.
dance, partner dance.
Yep.
And, I'm actually working on getting some back here locally in Fairfax, California at this moment because we kind of lost it with the big C
Mm-hmm.
shutdown. So
It's powerful. I mean,
what
that
would you
even it to touch on like how I healed, like I had to actively seek out male body workers because I wanted to have them lay hands on me again because it was so scary. And then so I had to find the right healers and then not go into a seizure or, not spasm. And then I was really blessed with one or two really dear, dear guy friends that were just friends, safe relationships. So I always encourage women when they're ready, because they're not ready out of the gate, but then you just have to tiptoe your way back in there because trauma sustained interpersonally has to at least be healed interpersonally. So you've got to step back into those waters. And it's like, okay, maybe we should create some events. And so the touch alone, like whether it be dancing and touch and having that feel safe, like that could be a beautiful way to kind of, bring people back to that,
Mhm.
that dance that's so special between the two.
I love that you said that. I think that we share this philosophy too, and I recommend this to a lot of women is that it is really healthy for women to be touched or to work with men practitioners who are really bringing sacred,
Yeah.
clean, healing space and
Yeah.
honoring our women, that is such an important piece in the
Yeah.
healing. And while our wounds are caused through relationship, it is also how they are
Yeah.
healed.
Absolutely.
So, and I know it sounds like that's a tip you share is because I was going to ask if you have a tip that you'd like to share with our listeners, because I know we've talked about a lot of juicy
Mm-hmm.
stuff here. It sounds like for women, our collective tip is seek out healthy, conscious, loving men to work on you as an avenue in your healing. Is there anything else you'd want to share,
Yeah, just
Stacey, for
knowing.
either the
Yeah,
perpetrator,
if
either the
the male was the
perpetrator?
perpetrator, then definitely, But so if it whatever gender it was, to seek out to heal that relationship, on your own. Um, and then also just like me getting lost with this healing journey is just to trust yourself that we actually do have to tackle it from mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual. It's like we can't just go to therapy and find our way out. We can't just go to doing some emotional work and find our way out. It's actually a really layered approach, but it can be done. That healing is so possible. I love to say that healing is so available for all of us. It just takes looking at all those little things. You know, I call it my little star of things that I look at. You can go, okay, what's going on here? And then that's where the alchemy happens. That's where the alchemy and like, oh, the thing is lifting now because I'm taking a look at all those houses. That's probably the biggest tip, you know, is to,
Thank
yeah,
you.
find all those little areas.
I think that's why so many practitioners in the healing arts or wellness and whatnot have so many modalities under their belt so that we can pull all of these things together. So a
Right.
really good practitioner typically has studied multiple
Yeah.
modalities, as Stacey was
Yeah.
sharing. Mm, I wonder, Stacey, if you can also share with us, is there a message that you would say to your 20-year-old self if you could go back? Is there something that you wish that you knew that someone had told you?
Yeah. Take care of your body and listen to your body. Like, I kind of barreled into fitness competitions, which can be so intense. And I don't think I was doing them really for myself sometimes. And, you know, we just beat up our bodies a lot, especially in our 20s. I feel like all our, like, whatever emotions we're repressing from teens and stuff, when we get into the 20s, women have the tendency to go to the body. You know, we over exercise or we have a different relationship with food. We tend to attack the body when we are not dealing with emotions. So taking time to slow down and really listen. You know, if you're a busy person, take 5 minutes a day and be like, does my body like spinning? No, it hates. Okay, great. Maybe should I dance? Maybe I should dance. Okay, cool. Like sometimes it's the things that we do constantly that we hate. It's like, okay, stop doing them. If you're not a runner, don't run. You know, like the body will tell you what it wants. And I need rest today. I need to go to, I need, you know, and if I had listened, I feel like my body would be in a very different position today, you know? I'm still unwinding a lot of injuries and health stuff from that time, you know?
I love your share. I was actually just teaching a solo episode here on the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle about 5 keys to protecting your light. And one of them is listening. And I've gotten to a point where I've always been sort of non committal with plans, which people don't love about me unless they operate the same way. And some of my highly intuitive soul sisters do, because I like to stop and check
Yeah,
in what is in the highest
yeah,
alignment right
there
now,
you
right
go.
now. So I love that you brought that piece in, because I was just sharing that even if when I go to bed, my plan is to go to a dance class in the morning,
Yeah,
like that's the workout and joy that I'm going to be doing, I will
yeah,
stop and say, is this what is needed for you right now? And if my body is like, not feeling that, what do you need,
yeah.
honey, is what I'll then ask. So thank you
Because
for
that
that.
relationship leads you to everything. It leads you to being able to have better boundaries and better sovereignty in every area of your life. If you can have that connection, you're golden.
I love that. What is it that you would scream from mountaintops? What is your big message?
Don't give up. Healing is possible. I like to, the biggest feedback I get when kind of people learn all the things that I've been through is like, oh, I can never be you. Or I can, you know, I'm like, I'm taking all your excuses away. Look, I've been there. You can do it. You can do it. And it's really like people think because of either their age, how many, you know, a real physical limitation. And I really always bring back anything is possible. The body is a miracle, and just to never give up. That's what I want to scream from the rooftops, because so often we resign ourselves to this is always the way it's going to be. And that's a little bit of, you know, working with the brain, working with the heart, but it's just anything is possible at any time. You know, that's what I want people to know, that they can heal.
Thank you. I am 100% with you. We create our limits, and yet we are limitless. So, thank you for all of your beautiful wisdom and tips and stories and heart you shared with
Thank
us here
you.
today on the Sacred Beauty
Pleasure.
Lifestyle. Can you tell us where it is that our lovely guests and listeners can find you?
Sure, yeah. Best is probably Instagram right now. It's I am Stacey Cooper, Stacey with an E, Cooper. Facebook, same handle. And then I got a little special gift for you guys. I'm going to do a free breathwork consult for just the Sacred Beauty family. So I'll give you guys a link for that as well. And so looking forward to meeting some of you.
Yes, and so that information, all of Stacey's contact information, including her generous offer to have a breathwork session, a mini breathwork session with Stacey, will be available in the show notes. So again, thank you so much for sharing. It was an absolute honor and pleasure.
Thank you so much. So much fun.
I'm Lisa Eddy, your host of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast, which is now being shared here on YouTube. I hope this episode brought you insights and inspiration to radiate and shine with confidence. Remember to subscribe so you receive new episodes hot off the press right when they are released. And follow me on Instagram for more juicy tips at I am Lisa Eddy. Also, ladies and gentlemen, when you subscribe, like, and share these episodes, it helps me to get seen by more people. And that means a lot to me because I am committed to reaching millions of women across the globe and waking them up to the sacred beauty lifestyle, owning their true power and beauty, both inside and out. Now, more than ever, we need more women shining instead of hiding. When we band together, we are unstoppable. This is how we change the world, together. Remember the sacred beauty lifestyle and get on out there and shine. The world needs your light.